What if I told you it's possible to have a great relationship with an avoidant man? What if I also told you that even if you're an anxiously attached woman, it's possible to have a strategy that can make it a breeze to deal with even the most avoidant of avoidant men? If that strategy you want to learn, join me on today's show where we'll be discussing how to thrive with an avoidant man. That way, you'll never again become anxious, even when he becomes emotionally distant. Let's start off with our number one point here, bird's eye. So let's imagine in this scenario, right? He is starting off here and you're starting off, let's say over here, and he pulls away from you and he starts moving in this direction. And so he ends up over here. So as he moves into this direction, right, you move in this direction, right? Because you're trying to get closer to him. So let's imagine this as kind of like an emotional scale, so to speak, okay? So this man is moving in this direction, taking one step back and now two steps back. And now you're taking one step forward and two steps forward emotionally, because as he's trying to avoid you, ask you for space, take time away from you, I need a break, I need to think to myself, I need to be by myself. You say, but wait, you want to be by yourself, but I need you, I want to talk to you, I want to spend time with you. And I feel like as you need a break, you're starting to like me less. I feel like you're starting to get less interested in me. I feel like you're going to forget about me. And so what ends up happening when you start responding that way emotionally? He takes more and more and more steps this way, okay, right? Meaning away from you. And then you end up taking more and more and more steps towards him. You're thinking in your mind, well, Tomisin, this is just my natural response to situations. And this is just how I feel when he does this to me, when he acts like this, I can't help it. I want this guy to like me and I like him. What are you telling me, that I shouldn't have emotions and I shouldn't like guys? That's not what I'm saying. But what I want you to understand is this isn't just you. In fact, for most avoidant men, this is all other women, all of them, because most of them are going to be in a situation where when they notice a guy that they like starting to pull away from them and they don't join the players club, they're not watching me, they don't understand how this works emotionally and what's going on, they're naturally going to push forward. That's what most women are doing. And when all of those women push forward, what does that trigger in all of these avoidant men? To be even more avoidant, okay? So the reason I'm calling this first point the bird's eye view is because I want you to understand that your situation, while it might feel like it's only happening to you, you have to take into account dealing with an avoidant man is not just dealing with him based on how you feel and how you want to respond, but it's also understanding that if this man is single up until this point and he's an avoidant man, clearly the natural response that most women have been giving him does not end up working out. I.e., the response of pulling forward towards him to try to smother him and prevent him from pulling away more or being more avoidant or telling him, hey, I'm here for you. You can see me. You can be here with me. And whenever you want to talk, do you want to talk now? 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 Is it okay now? So what I want you to start thinking about from a bird's eye view is we have to start showing the guy that you're dealing with, this avoidant man, right? We're imagining him as the 0 over here and you are the X. Anytime you notice him go from here to this direction over here, right? What you're gonna do is you're gonna start here. And in fact, you're gonna inch towards this area over here as well. You're gonna slowly and incrementally take your steps backwards as well. There's a very, very, very important reason for that, okay? Because we want to show men, especially avoidant men, that you have no problem with them being avoidant towards you. Because this is the opposite of the natural response that they've been receiving from all the other women they've been dealing with in their relationships. And so now that you're giving him the opposite response that he's been used to dealing with all his other women, now he's finally able to have a different response towards the situation and hopefully towards you, okay? So it's so important that you understand this bird's eye view, because in the process of understanding this is how we're going to break down the steps that you need to take to do this right. Because it's not just about me saying, oh, mirror the avoidant man and be avoidant when he's avoidant, because it's not that simple if I don't give you actual strategy to be able to do that. Number 2 here, we have the source. What I want you to picture is a light bulb. The reason I drew this light bulb is because this is who you are, right? You are the light bulb. Now, you're the light bulb in the sense that you have to understand the worst thing that could ever happen to you in a relationship with an avoidant man and in dealing with one is that he becomes your sole source of happiness. So let's imagine your man is here, right? And the reason I drew a light bulb is because we have solar here, okay, like the sun. Then we have a wind turbine here as an energy source. And then we have electricity here as an energy source, okay? So let's just imagine, for the sake of this analogy and this visual, that the man in this relationship, right, your man that you're dealing with, your avoidant man, is your sole source of happiness. Meaning, when you go out with him and you spend time with him, you get a little bit of dopamine from it. You sleep with him. He jackrabbits himself inside of you for 90 seconds. He makes you happy and you enjoy spending your time with him. The problem with that, though, is that when he becomes avoidant, right? Because that's what avoidant men do. When they pull away from you, whether it be because, they're just interested in something else, maybe they had a fight with you or an issue with you, whatever the situation is why he's pulling away from you. We need you to be able to tap into your other sources of happiness, okay? So as a light bulb, you know how you can have different ways of actually providing energy to this light bulb to power the light bulb, right? You can have solar, you can have wind, and you can have actual electricity, right, to power the light bulb. We want you to also be able to tap into your other sources of happiness immediately as a man becomes avoidant towards you. The reason that I say that is because this process of being able to switch your sources of happiness needs to become so seamless for you that anytime a man becomes avoidant with you, you're actually able to take a step back, okay? So let's imagine each of these different things, right? You can have, let's say, passions here, right? And you can have, let's say, fam, right here, okay? And this is where you have to become creative and knowledgeable about yourself, what's the most important to you, and understand what are the stable parts of my life. Who are the people and the things that exist in my life that I can rely on to be there for me regardless of how my relationship is going. So this is where you have to get good at tapping into your sources of consistency and reliability in your life. Right? The reason I put down family is that hopefully you have family members in your life that, regardless of whether you're dating someone or you're single, these are people you can rely on to bring you happiness, regardless of what goes on in your relationship with this man, okay? This also could be really close girlfriends, all right? People that actually want the best for you, that want to see you winning in life, right? Passions could also be hobbies, could also be just things that you like to spend your time doing. It could even just be traveling, right? But you need to have this available to you on an easy notice, okay? It shouldn't be hard to access any of these alternative forms of energy or alternative forms of happiness, as we could say, okay? Someone says, I have God. Your religion could also be that, right? So this is where you get creative, like I said, at tapping into any one of these sources the moment a man shows you his avoidant side, because an avoidant man will eventually show you that. The reason for that is because, like a light bulb, we don't ever want you dim. We don't ever want you without energy to feed you, because you need that happiness from external sources to feed you and keep you going. We don't want that man to be that sole source of energy that as soon as he's not there anymore, then you lose your ability to be happy. Because once that becomes the case with your avoidant man, none of what I teach you or we talk about here is going to work properly. Absolutely zero. Because you're going to be in such painful agony trying to get him back into your life, trying to draw him back in, trying to have him become another source of your happiness, because you don't know what you're going to do, how you're going to live, or how you're going to go about life or receive any happiness without him. Okay? So it's very important that you tap into your own individual sources. And like I said, I can't necessarily give those to you, because you have to become curious enough about discovering yourself that you start realizing, well, what does bring me happiness outside of a man? Okay? And if I ask you that question, right, when you hear that question, your answer to that is, I don't know, then we need to backtrack. And we have to start figuring out what is happiness for you outside of a relationship. Because make no mistake about it, whether you're a woman that plans on being a wife or not, you need to have something that brings you happiness outside of your relationship, or else you're not going to have no good relationship. I can assure you of that. Let's hop into number 3, outlast. When you're in this situation with your avoidant man, you're running a race with him. In fact, I should be more specific, you're running a marathon with this man. And at this finish line here is, let's just say, a relationship. And at the end of this finish line here is where he eventually comes back to you and is ready to address the things that need to be addressed, to speak to you again, to acknowledge you, to be in this relationship and actually be invested in this relationship again, no longer be avoiding or taking emotional space. Now, the reason that I want us to imagine this as a marathon is because it's so important that you don't lose sight of where you're going and understand that your goal is not to sprint to the finish line and not to try to get him where he needs to go before he's ready to go there. Your goal here is to outlast him and pace yourself so that by the time the destination is reached, you're well prepared for the journey and how long this is going to take and how much energy you're going to have to expend in this process of getting to your destination, right? So you're taking this journey here. And throughout the process of taking this journey, you're going to reach, right, points where you get to the place where you have a desire to quit. Right? You're going to want to quit. You're going to want to say, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to talk to the guy. I want to reach out to the guy. I want to show him how much I care, how much I need him. I want to show him that I'm ready and available for him to talk to me, because maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he forgot my number. Maybe he doesn't realize that I still exist. Maybe he has totally forgot that we were doing this thing called a relationship. And if I remind him that we're still doing this thing called a relationship, then he'll no longer be an avoidant man. It never works. It never works. You will never get to where you need to go. You have to understand, as soon as that man becomes avoidant towards you, you are playing the waiting game. And all the tools that I'm trying to give you, like we talked about with the source, right? Having your source of happiness that is consistent in your life, outside and not at all related to that man, not tied to him, okay? Not in any way, shape, or form, and he can't control it. That you have that, because this is what's going to help you outlast the process of him going about his avoidant ways. So let's say you get into a disagreement with the guy, and after this disagreement, this guy chooses to not text you for 2 or 3 days. We need you to be able to fall back on your sources of happiness, like we talked about in number 2, that you're able to outlast this marathon. We don't want you getting to 2 kilometers and saying, oh, damn, I'm really messed up. I can't do this. We don't want you getting to 10 miles, 15 miles and saying, damn, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue this process, because now that I realize you're so avoidant, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, my anxiety is going to be able to allow me to just chill while you take your space. You have to understand this process of him being an avoidant man. It has to end. Has to. And in this, to get to this finish line, it has to end with him coming to you. There is no other way that this can end until he comes to you. And we're going to kind of break this down in our next point, and what I do not want you doing. So point number 4, never fight avoidant men. We're going to give you curly hair today. Sometimes you guys be complaining, I want curly hair. I don't want it to be straight. Okay, you got curly hair today. So you got curly hair today and your cute little nose there. But today you're in trouble. You're in quicksand, okay? The reason I don't want you fighting is because fighting with avoidant men about them being avoidant is actually, it's like quicksand. The reason for that is the more you fight, the more this quicksand will creep up on your ankles and your knees and your thighs. And the more you try to rustle yourself out of the situation by coming up to him and telling him, hey, I know you're an avoidant man, but I'm here for you. I just want you to know I'm here for you. I know you're an avoidant man, but I'm just reaching out to you once again for the 15th time that you haven't messaged me back, just to let you know that whenever you do want to talk, I'm here for you. When a man tells you, that's an avoidant man, that he wants to take space from you, that he wants a break from you, that he needs some time to think, you will never, listen to me, you're in the Players Club now, okay? So I'm telling you, and I'm telling you this as an avoidant man, you will never fight him on what he asks you for. Avoidant men will obviously always be asking for more and more space. Every time he asks you for space, you will say, okay, and let him go for as long as he wants to go. You're not gonna fight him on it. You're not gonna text him about it. You're not gonna question him about it. You're not gonna ask him what's the reason why you need space. No. As soon as you get the hint or the inkling, or he even says it to you, especially if he says it to you, you're gonna say, oh, okay, perfectly fine. And you won't message him again until he reaches out to you. It's very important that you never fight this process. The worst thing you can, the worst thing you can do in this process of dealing with an avoidant man is fighting him on his avoidance. Because remember, when we talked about the bird's eye view, every other woman in his life that has felt his avoidant energy, as even the ones who were secure sometimes that have felt that avoidant energy, it has turned them anxious because they're wondering what they did wrong or why this man has become avoidant. So they always scramble to try to figure out what the issue is and figure out what they can change. All of that only serves to make an avoidant man more avoidant. Because as you do that, he starts thinking, well, now that I asked for space, not only is she not giving me space, but she's in fact smothering me even more than when we were in our regular relationship. So not only isn't this not the normal, but it's actually 10 plus, right? In terms of her smothering of me, her emotional smothering of me, that is actually making me feel even more uncomfortable and making me want to take a step back even more. Which is why I say you do not fight men or even question the avoidant men on why they are becoming avoidant. You just allow them to be as avoidant as they feel like being. Because like we talked about at the beginning, you're like a genie, okay? I want you to think, me and you in the Players Club, but I want you to remember, and the visual I want you to think of yourself, you're a sexy genie today. And in this show where you become a sexy genie, a seductive genie, you grant any wish of that man. In fact, you grant the wish so well. You grant these wishes tenfold. The reason I say this is because you want that man in a situation where when he finally, you want it to be because he decided to come back to you. And you also want him to recognize, it's the most important part about never fighting, you want him to recognize that you granted his wish exactly how he asked for it. He asked you for space, you said okay, you gave him so much space that he was the one coming back to you and asking you, I know I said I wanted space, but did you really think that we have like not talk for 3 days? Like, I know I said I wanted space, but you're not going to message me at all? You're not even going to check up on me? You're not even going to say anything? Do you not care? Right? And this is where when he comes back like that, all you do is say, well, that's what you asked me for, which is space. So you're actually teaching men, and this is going to sound really strange, you're teaching men that when you ask for something from me, especially when you ask for space or you want to take a step back from the relationship, you will indeed get that. Because this is the problem with avoidant men. And I'm telling you this is an avoidant man. Sometimes they will use the process of being an avoidant to gauge your level of interest in them. When they realize that when they become avoidant towards you, that you push towards them, they will see that, oh, you actually do like them. You actually are very interested. They'll realize that they have a lot of power in this relationship. It actually becomes, in a weird way, a little bit of a power play in the sense that when you do go forward, when you do take an emotional step forward, they realize you're doing that because you're in so much agony that you can't take this anymore. That you like them and want them so much that you need to be with them. You can't allow this distance to go on any longer. But when you're a sexy, seductive genie granting all of his wishes and he asks you for space and you give him so much space that he's the one wondering why all this space is existing, and you tell him that this space is existing because that's exactly what you asked for, you're actually showing him that if you think you're gonna take space away from me or become an avoidant man and I'm gonna chase after you or you're gonna get some sort of satisfaction or validation from that, you're not. All you're going to get is the loneliness and the emptiness of realizing that you're receiving your own doing. Let's hop into our number 5 point. Number 5 is the welcome back. Let's imagine that you're attending a surprise party And at this surprise party, you have all of your different friends, that are going to surprise you. You got friends and family. So I'm just putting an F here because these are all your different friends and family at the surprise party. And this is the door that you're eventually gonna walk through, okay? So in the process of you eventually walking through this door, right, you obviously don't know what's on the other side of this door for your surprise party, okay? It's a surprise. Now, the reason that I say this is, let's imagine two scenarios. Let's imagine our first scenario in which you walk through the door, and when you walk through the door, you're obviously not knowing that what's gonna happen. It's dark, you turn on the lights, and everyone yells out in the corner, surprise! And they jump out, they're blowing balloons, there are cotton candies everywhere, it's a circus, everything's amazing, people are doing flips, your girls are twerking a Sexy Red starts playing in the background, and all your girls are going crazy, okay? Now let's imagine scenario number 2, in which you walk into this surprise party, and when you turn on the lights and it goes bright again, it goes up, and instead of them yelling surprise, they all go, I had work yesterday and I had a bunch of stuff to do. Like, now I'm here at your surprise party. I'm probably gonna get fired because I had to leave work early and I showed up late because I was organizing your surprise. Bro, I don't even know what I'm gonna do for work now because this stupid surprise, hip hip hooray. Yeah, play the Sexy Red. What's that stupid song she likes? Imagine that was the reaction you got when you walked into the door from your surprise party. Be quite strange, right? You'd start to wonder, why is everyone acting as if I'm burdening them when they're the ones throwing my surprise party? You're surprising me, right? And you're here to make me have a good time because it's my birthday. So why would I walk into my surprise party that you guys set up for me, and you're complaining about all the things that you couldn't do because you had to do my surprise party? I didn't ask you to throw me a surprise party. So the reason I give you that analogy and example is because I want you to understand, if you're dealing with an avoidant man and you don't like how he's acting, or you don't like his level of avoidance to the point where you're considering breaking up with him, it's very, very, very important that when he does come back into your life, that you have to make a decision. If you're gonna allow him into your life again, and you're this magical genie that you did this so that he can recognize being an avoidant man or doing these type of avoidant games doesn't work with me, you have to understand, if you're gonna welcome him back, you actually have to welcome him back. Meaning, you have to pretend as if nothing happened. The reason I say that is that you have to put him in a situation where when he comes back into your life, if he's an avoidant man, he comes back and he says, damn, that was 3 days and we didn't talk. And you're like, yeah, so? But I told you I wanted space. Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. You got space. But it wasn't supposed to be 3 days worth of space. It was supposed to be 1 day. Oh, my bad. And see, you're flipping the script, because when you're welcoming him back, you're painting the picture, my life has been going on. So happy to have you back here, but it's not really like we missed you that much. This negates a lot of the luster and the magic of being an avoidant man. Because part of the emotional wank fantasy is coming back and having you in agony. Because when I've been gone, you've been in pain, you've been suffering, you've had nothing to do, your life has been so boring that when I walk back into your life, aren't you happy to have Superman back in your life? Now I'm bringing the light, I'm bringing the sunshine, I'm bringing the happiness, aren't I? And you're just like, wait, what? You were gone for 3 days? How long has it actually been? Wait, I'm supposed to be Superman. I'm everything in your life, all the happiness. And you have to decide if you're going to throw him, the reason I brought this analogy, if you're going to throw the surprise party and you're going to welcome him into the surprise party, you have to look like you're actually happy to be there. You cannot paint a picture as if that when he comes back into your life, you're still angry or upset about the fact that he was an avoidant. Then, if that's the case, okay, I'm not saying you can't have feelings or emotions, but if it bothers you that much and you're that upset about the amount of distance it's taken, then you should say, this isn't even the relationship for me, and just walk away totally, okay? The reason I say that is because you cannot bring any magic, any je ne sais quoi, for those of you who are French. You cannot bring any magic or luster to being an avoidant man, or else it will make being an avoidant man that much more enticing. I'm telling you this as an avoidant man. Do not make the mistake of making it a magical experience for him in the sense of making him feel like you were in agony or at all questioning yourself or this relationship while he was away from you. I know this kind of sounds strange because I'm telling you to welcome him back as a way to show him that he doesn't matter. I should address stuff, Tomisin. People talk to me about communication. But what I want you to understand is with avoidant men, any type of expression of agony or pain while I, as a man, was being avoidant will always bring some magic and luster to the process of being an avoidant man. Because remember, when we talked about in the bird's eye view, right? They're used to the process of being an avoidant and having even those secure women push towards them. That's the natural occurrence. So they're actually expecting a particular response if they take their space and now it's been 3 or 4 days. They're expecting the response of, how could you allow it to be 3 to 4 days? How could you not talk to me for so long? I was so upset. I was sitting here wondering what you were doing and what you were thinking and what was going on in your mind and all that other stuff. And even some of these avoidant men, I'm telling you this honestly, I shouldn't be telling you this, but some of these avoidant men will even come back into your life after in this welcome party, right, as we can imagine it. They'll come back into your life and they'll ask you questions. Were you thinking of me? Were you sad while I was gone? What were you doing while I was gone? What were you doing while I was away while we weren't talking, right? They're looking to get a little bit of those stories, to hear you say, I was so sad, I was staring at the wall and I painted my wall white 30 times just so I could watch it dry 30 times again and I didn't know what to do. I was playing RuneScape, I was sitting around scrolling through TikToks day after day after day and every TikTok just reminded me. That's what they want. Even avoidant men, that's what they want. And that's what they're expecting. So when you welcome avoidant men back and you pretend as if nothing has even happened, in the sense that I didn't even notice that you were gone. And if you want to be avoidant, yeah, I'll give you your space as an avoidant. Be avoidant for as long as you want to be avoidant. It takes a lot of the magic away from being an avoidant man. And what you're teaching him is you can be avoidant for as long as you want, but nothing's going to come from that. You're not going to get my energy. You're not going to feel closer to me. You're not going to feel like I love you more. It's just going to be the space that you asked for. And if you're not careful, the amount of space that you ask for could lead to us breaking up for forever.